agenda is the final subdivision plan for a lot line change for Phyllis in Woodruff at 829 Westchester Pike. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is John Mahoney. I'm the attorney in support of the application. Phyllis Woodruff is the trustee of the trust which holds title to the land that straddles or is in between Paoli Pike and Westchester Pike. I don't know whether we have a visual depiction available. Great, okay. Yeah. I should mention that with me in the front row here is Chris Daly, PE, an engineer with DL Howell, whom I selected to have this plan drawn. Our office with Ruggiero Law Offices were in Paoli, and we've been asked to advance the cause of the revised lot line, which is really what this is. We have to go through the subdivision process, but do you have the laser pointer right here? Highlight some things. I'd like to think we can make relatively quick work of this. There are two lots here. There is lot 1 in the upper part. You can see the northbound arrow, and lot 2. Lot 2 has been used for residential purposes. There is a home there. Lot 1 might be known to you. That's Citizens Bank, which has operated a banking facility there since about 1973, when I was still living in West Goshen Township, and in high school, Mr. Sander. Essentially, here's the big change. There's a lot line here, right across. That's the existing lot line. That plan has been approved, recorded, and could be the subject of selling this lot to whoever might choose to make some use of it. Until earlier this year, one of the co-trustees occupied this home as his residence, as he did since, I'm not sure when, but maybe the 1940s. He passed away. So the other co-trustee, who is a resident of Oregon, said, you know, I really don't like that subdivision approval. I would prefer that this area of land be made part of lot 1. And you know what? It makes sense, and I'll tell you why. The lease that started in 1973 is for 50 years. It still has about 4 years to go and may be extended. This area of land probably really should belong to lot 1 because this area is the subject of a lease option. The bank can elect to occupy this area for additional parking. So we look at the township zoning ordinance and we know that this lot, lot 2, is in the C1 zone, probably should be used for commercial purposes. It is on Westchester Pike. I can't speak to the comprehensive plan of the township, but I know that the zoning ordinance encourages uses of this land as the C1. It speaks to that in terms of what you would do if you're going to continue or expand a non-conforming use. This is a non-conforming use here. It's residential. It should not be used for residential purposes. It should be used for commercial purposes.
Yeah. Lot 2 is in the C2 district.
C2 district? Yeah. C1, okay. Both are in commercial, thank you. And I knew the engineer would have to correct me if I was wrong on some aspects of this. In summary, the revision to the lot line would reduce the extent to which lot 1 is non-conforming. Lot 1 is non-conforming in certain technical respects as regards the paved surface area. Now your maximum in the C1 district is 50%. Right now it's 58.7%. The lot line would result in compliance with that regulation, reducing the paved area to 50%. The green area landscaping minimum requirement in that C1 district is 40%. Currently, lot 1 only has 31.5% of green landscaped area, with the revised lot line moving from here to here. So as to increase the size of lot 1, we're increasing the green landscaped area from 31.5% to 40.4%. Additionally, just about everything about these two lots is non-conforming, but lot 2 is non-conforming as regards its rear yard. It's 53 feet as currently approved. This proposal increases the rear yard to 60 feet. So there's an incremental decrease in the extent to which lot 2 is non-conforming. But in summary, I think the main reason why this plan has advantages for both the trust, which owns this land and has certain beneficiaries, and to the township is it increases the likelihood of commercial use of this Westchester Pike frontage property, because when it goes to selling and marketing it, there's no need to explain why this area of land that's currently part of Lot 2 could be the subject of an exercised option by Citizens Bank. If you have any questions, I'm happy to try to respond to them.
No, this isn't the first time I've seen this presentation.
It's at least the second.
Yes, at least the second. So thank you. I do not have any questions.
Neither do I. I read shared with us already.
Thank you.
Any questions from anybody? Any concerns from the engineer?
No.
Mr.
Make a
Canal.
motion to approve.
Any second for the motion to approve?
I'll second.
I have a second from Mr. Miko. Any comments from the audience? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your patience.
I do.
Okay, folks, the next item on the agenda is the final subdivision plan for 13 residential lots for the Glenn M. White Land Company. That's located at 901 Little Silo Road. Who would like to start that discussion?
Well, I'll actually start if I may.
Yes, sir.
Although Mr. White is here, and so is Mr. Nassif, who is Mr. White's attorney, and Dave Gibbons and D.L. House, who is their engineer. Just to give you a brief overview of the project, it is 13 lots. This is South Five Points Road here, Little Shiloh Road here. This is an existing residence that's going to be retained. This is a new cul-de-sac street with 9 of the lots on the cul-de-sac street, as well as an infiltration stormwater basin. There will be 3 new residences here. This currently is a large, old farm pond, which is in extremely poor conditions, partially breached, it's eutrophied, it's in bad shape. That's going to be removed as part of this project. The stream bank area here is going to be restored to its original condition, which is a significant environmental improvement. There will be sidewalks around the cul-de-sac street. I guess those are the salient features. The Planning Commission has reviewed it and recommended that the board approve it. And if Mr. White or Mr. Nassif or Mr. Gibbons have anything they'd like to add?
We've nothing to add.
Okay, I think we're all a little familiar on this. Planning Commission is approved.
Yes, I'm the liaison to the Planning Commission, so I have the privilege of attending Tuesday night meetings once a month, and the option to see these plans well in advance to when they come to the Board of Supervisors. So I don't have any questions or concerns. Should I make a motion? Does anyone?
I had some questions.
Oh, go ahead.
Going through the counties, and you can answer these probably real quick, Rick, but going through the county's recommendations, the sidewalks are going to be provided in the cul-de-sac area.
The sidewalks are provided in the cul-de-sac area only. We did look at providing them along the other 2 streets. The problem is there's quite a growth of trees along both these areas that we didn't want to disturb, and there's also no connection possibility presently there. Plus, particularly Little Shiloh is narrow and relatively high traffic, not conducive to pedestrian traffic.
Okay, the stormwater management arrangement, you mentioned that's going to be in the
Well,
budget.
there's actually several stormwater management provisions. One is a basin with infiltration here. There's also some infiltration berms and detention berms down here for these lower lots, and as I said, the stream bank restoration as well.
You mentioned also preservation of trees.
There are going to be some tree removal in this area, obviously, but trees are being preserved along the perimeter, and additional trees will be planted to make up for the 50% of the trees removed by the property.
Okay, is there an effort to keep any large trees there?
There is, as long as the grading will allow it, and that's normal course of action. Unfortunately, there's some areas where the revised grading would kill the trees anyway, and in that case, they'll be moved.
It's my understanding, since I live there, that those trees are primarily osage and other types of thinner type trees are not any old growth per se. They're really just barrier trees to keep people from driving properly into that one home that's in the corner.
It's just the most popular property.
We did.
Yeah.
Every day I visited.
Do we have any other questions from the board? Mr. Bernal?
I would ask one.
Okay, very good questions. Do we have a motion to
Make a
approve?
motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Gunterbeck. Any comments? Dr. White?
Robin, you said the trees there are not large oak or maple trees, they're smaller trees. Is that true?
In the corner that he was referring to, which is at the intersection of South Five Points and Shiloh Road, right there.
Okay.
There are a couple trees up to the house. There's like one big tree, but
Okay.
many of them are actually not very well, they haven't been taken care of. That house has been abandoned probably for what, 4 years now?
Okay.
Yeah, so it's really
Okay.
untidy and it doesn't look great, and I don't see there being a lot of, I mean, obviously, if there's a tree that's worth saving, I would
Okay.
hope that they can do that, but
Okay, Glenn, are you going to have any wooded lots there? Or is it just going to be all cleared and then,
There's
Plan.
not that much clearing on this property. As Mr. Craig said, where grading's going to take place, the trees will be removed, but a lot of the trees are smaller in nature. There's some growth trees that we said on the lot number 11 on the corner of 5 Points and Little Shiloh, very close to the house.
okay, so where the cul-de-sac street is, you're going to try to maintain what's
Most of that area is open.
Already.
There's some trees on the back of the perimeter.
Okay.
So we'll try to save those trees as much as possible.
Okay.
To buffer these existing neighborhood.
Okay. As far as the perimeter sidewalk, I did go over and take a look. I know you're not required to do that now. Can you possibly think about doing that? The reason I thought about the sidewalk was because the trees that would have to be removed are not, well, great trees. And the traffic slows down there anyway, and there could be the possibility of having a circular walk path going behind the neighborhood, and it would just be, my impression of looking at the area was maybe a sidewalk would be nice at the perimeter, but that would be up to you now. So that's all.
Thank you, Dr. White. Do we have any other comments from the audience? Okay, so I believe we have a motion, a second motion. All those in favor of approving the plan?
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is the Board of Supervisors hearing 3-2018, the conditional use hearing for athletic ball field improvements for Westchester University. I believe we have Mr. Nagel. Good evening.
All right. Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes, sir.
This is being a public hearing and being transcribed as a conditional use hearing, it would be appropriate for the board to make a motion to open the hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have an open hearing. I'd like to read the essence of the application and mark a few board exhibits, if I may, before the applicant begins testimony. This is the application of Westchester University of Pennsylvania for a conditional use for the expansion/extension of existing educational uses in the form of 3 safety upgrades to existing ball fields on South New Street, Westchester, PA 19382, Chester County Tax Parcel number 52-7-7. The property is zoned R3 Residential District, in which the expansion/extension of existing educational uses is permitted by conditional use pursuant to sections 84-12.G(1) and 84-57.10.A of the West Goshen Township zoning ordinance. First exhibit, Board Exhibit 1B1, is a copy of the proof of publication of notice of tonight's hearing that appeared in the Daily Local News on September 6th and September 13th, 2018. Exhibit B2 is an affidavit of posting subscribed by William E. Webb, zoning officer, containing a list of properties to whom the notice of tonight's hearing was mailed, and color photographs depicting the posting of that property. That's Exhibit B2. And Exhibit B3 is the cover letter dated July 19, 2018 from Mr. Nagel, covering the application for conditional use filed by Westchester University of Pennsylvania. It contains a narrative in support of the application, and it contains some color aerial plans and some black and white additional plans depicting the ball fields and the proposed safety upgrades to those ball fields. That will collectively be Exhibit B3. So those are the board exhibits, and at this time, if the board is ready, we can ask Mr. Nagel to begin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Nagel, that's your letter.
Good evening, Brian Nagel on behalf of the applicant. Mr. Solicitor, have you asked whether anybody requesting party status?
Not in the habit of doing that. If anybody is here with an attorney or desires to do that, they will and should speak up.
Thank you. As you heard in the summary, this is a relatively straightforward project. It pertains to the two existing ball fields at the property that you see on the screen. It's also identified in the application. And I'll launch right into it with some testimony from two witnesses who I'd like to call to give the board an overview. This project was reviewed by the Planning Commission, which made a recommendation of approval of the conditional use. Any use that the university has, even an existing use under the ordinances, requires conditional use approval for modification. And that's why we're here this evening. So with that, the applicant will call Michael Clark.
Could Mr. Clark be sworn in, please?
Raise your right hand. Please swear the testimony about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
I do.
Mr. Nagel.
Thank you. And I've given the members of the board copies of pre-marked applications that I'll refer to. Mr. Clark, what's your position with the university?
I'm a project manager in our facilities division.
And are you familiar with the conditional use application that was submitted to the township that was marked A1?
I'm sorry, we need you to step up there.
There you go.
It can be recorded so we all can hear it. Thank you.
And Brian, you should probably keep your voice up, so we can try to.
Okay.
You can stand next to him. That would actually make it better, so we can have you audio.
Thank you.
It's the tag team.
Mr. Nagel needs some FaceTime.
No problem.
Live stream time.
Right.
For the record, Mike Clark, Westchester University project manager in our facilities division.
Are you familiar with the conditional use application that was filed and marked A1?
Yes.
And this project involves modifications for the university's existing educational use, the baseball and softball fields, correct?
Yes.
I'm going to show you an exhibit marked A2. That shows the property included on the screen along South New Street, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is the owner of the subject property, is that correct?
Correct.
And I've marked as Exhibit 3 the deed to the property. And it's fair to say the ball fields have been there for quite a long time, probably longer than anyone here can remember.
It's fair to say yes.
And what's the impetus for this project, Mr. Clark?
So the project really stems from three elements, the first being player safety. We had a baseball player 2 years ago who was sitting in our dugout and took a foul ball off the head, which resulted in a traumatic injury. Since then, the NCAA, along with some other incidences, has adopted some standards that involve protection at the front face of the dugouts, both for softball and baseball players. In softball, that is a requirement that is being put into action in the next few years, mandated for all stadiums. In the baseball articles, that is a recommendation at this point. Additionally, we're looking at fan and spectator safety. We have a set of bleachers at our baseball stadium that is not in great condition. It is also in a very poor location, being that it is right behind the third base dugout, that same dugout that player was sitting in where he was hit by that foul ball. Those bleachers are also not protected in any way, shape, or form currently, and tend to put our fans and spectators at risk that are sitting in them of taking a foul ball. And the third being ADA and accessibility upgrades to both stadiums. It would be fair to say that we do not have sufficient paths into either stadium that provide accessibility at this time.
And so these upgrades aren't being made in anticipation of additional spectators. It's just for addressing existing needs for the existing use. Is that a fair statement?
That's absolutely correct. There is no anticipated increase in spectators or fans at any of the softball or baseball games, and there is no impact or change in the operation of either element at either stadium.
And you're familiar with exhibit that I've marked as exhibit A4, which would be the bleacher layouts, the bleacher photographs for both fields?
Yes, that's correct.
Just one correction, the softball is A4 and the baseball is A5 in your pack.
Are the proposed new bleachers identical they look identical for the two fields?
For the most part, yes.
Okay.
And will the bleachers have any new features?
There'll be no new features, just integrated features. Currently, we use a portable press box and portable sound system, which will be hardwired into either stadium. There will be no change in how those elements operate or function in terms of the operation of the game itself and how they're utilized. They will just be integrated into that portion of the stadium for better operation on our end.
Are there scoreboards at the fields today?
Yes, there are, and they are being replaced as part of the project.
Do you anticipate any change in the noise levels generated by any of the elements that you described?
No, we do not.
Have either of your teams won any titles in the past?
Yes, recently baseball has won the Division II National Championship as recent as 2017, and softball continues to contend for the divisional titles each year.
So I imagine you're already fairly confident.
You could say that.
Do you have any night games?
We do not.
Are you proposing to have any night games?
We are not.
And you're not proposing any field lights, are you?
There will be no field lights.
I have no further questions for this witness.
Okay, board questions for this witness?
The one thing I had in the petition before the board of supervisors in reference to the thing, Brian, you could look at this over my shoulder here quick and tell me the proper reference for it. It's listed as North Main Street. It should be south.
That's correct. That's a typo.
Okay.
It is South Main Street.
Okay. Thank you. No. Other than that, no.
Any other board questions? Okay, thank you. Next witness.
Thank you.
Applicant calls Michael Joyce. I've attached Mr. Joyce's resume.
Yeah, I swear about it. There you.
Do you swear the testimony about the Bible be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
I've attached Mr. Joyce's resume as Exhibit A6. He's a licensed civil engineer in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And if it's the board's pleasure, I would request that he be accepted as an expert in civil engineering.
Any board questions for Mr. Joyce just pertaining to his qualifications?
No.
Okay, the board will accept Mr. Joyce as an expert in the field of civil engineering.
Thank you. Can you just please state your name and by whom you're employed, Mr. Joyce?
My name is Michael Joyce. I'm employed by Remington and Vernick Engineers.
Are you familiar with the subject application and the property that pertains to it?
Yes.
Did your office prepare plans that were submitted with the application, which are included in the application A1?
Yes.
If the board approves this conditional use, will this project still require, in addition to the conditional use approval, and land development approval?
That's correct.
And you have filed concurrent with this application, an application for land development approval?
Yes, we have.
Can you please provide the board with an overview of the proposed improvements?
The proposed improvements at both of the softball and baseball fields would include replacing the bleachers, and the bleacher replacement would include additional ADA compliant pedestrian access in the form of ramps with safety rails. The dugouts will also be replaced at each field. There will be a maintenance shed installed at the softball field. And speaking to the pedestrian access, there will also be a new connection from the softball field to the crosswalk at New Street. There will be a set of stairs up that slope to connect to the crosswalk to the parking lot across South New Street.
In your opinion, is there effective screening from adjacent uses?
Yes. And as part of this application, additional evergreen screening would be provided on the north end of the property adjacent to the residences.
Given Mr. Clark's testimony, would it be your opinion that there's no change relative to the impact on the roadways adjacent to the project?
Yes, I would agree.
And in your opinion, are the improvements designed in such a way so as to remove any adverse impact to adjacent users?
I don't think it changes the impact. In light of the bleacher improvements, it would remove spectators currently using the slope to sit, and in that sense it's an improvement. And the ADA, the additional ADA accessibility improvements would improve the access to the fields.
In your opinion, is the facility provided with effective water and sewer facilities?
Yes, the Sturs-Becker building, which is at the south end of the property, has publicly available restrooms and water fountains. Each field is also currently equipped with hose bibs to allow maintenance crew to water the fields.
Is there any change to the interior traffic circulation?
No, there is not.
And is that circulation that exists safe and adequate in your opinion?
Yes.
Is there safe and convenient pedestrian access for internal circulation?
There is, and as mentioned, the proposed improvements would provide additional ADA access, which would improve the pedestrian access.
And there's no improvements proposed as part of this project that would pose any fire safety issues, are there?
No.
Will there be any increase in surface water runoff at the boundary of the property beyond the runoff that exists today?
No, there will not.
Are all the opinions that you've offered to this board drawn to a reasonable degree of professional certainty, Mr.
Yes.
Joyce? Sorry.
Figured it was me.
I have no further questions for this witness.
Questions for Mr. Joyce from the board? Okay. No questions. Any other witnesses?
No other witnesses. I would ask that all of the exhibits that have been presented be admitted into the record.
They will be admitted. Exhibits A1 through A6.
With that, I think that, I'm sorry.
Should we make note of that typo?
I think we did. It's on the record.
Is it?
And it's correctly reflected in the plans as well, just for your comfort. If there's nothing else from the board, I would submit that the presentation demonstrates compliance with your ordinance standards for granting of a conditional use for this project, and we would ask that you do so. We thank you for your time.
I'll make a motion we approve.
Hold on. One small thing.
Yes.
It would be appropriate, Mr. Chairman, to ask for public comment at this time.
Very well. Is there any public comment? There does not seem to be.
No.
I'll make a motion we approve.
Thank you, Mr. Cornell. Thank you, Mr. Meekum. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
It's fine.
Okay.
They can do it on the record. Motion to close the hearing.
Motion to close the
I'll
hearing.
make that motion we approve.
I will second that.
Thank you, Ms. Considine. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion's passed, hearing closed. Thank you. 5-0. They can vote.
Thank you, Hal. Folks, the next item on the agenda is reports for the month of August 2018. We will be starting with the police reports presented by Chief Joe Gleason. Chief Gleason, good evening.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Chairman, thank you. For August, the calls for service were 1,902. We responded to 48 alarms, 8 of which were valid. We investigated 19 reportable motor vehicle accidents and investigated 50 non-reportable motor vehicle accidents. And we logged 20,139 miles on our patrol vehicles. In addition to other locations, selective enforcement was active around our schools, primarily around Ellis Lane, Box Elder Drive, Glen Avenue, Fernhill and Lincoln, Montgomery Avenue, Burke Road, Green Hill Road, and Bailey Pike. And our career development continues. We had our monthly emergency response team training. Officer Riley attended an active threat course for 2 days. We continue with our EVOC training, emergency vehicle operations course. Officers attended close quarter battle operations. Detective Taylor attended the negotiator training with regard to our ERT. And Sergeant Sedlak attended drug delivery resulting in death investigations course. I would like to note that Sergeant Liss has successfully graduated from the FBI National Academy last Thursday. And that's quite the accomplishment, and that gives West Goshen Township 6 current officers that are current graduates of the FBI National Academy, which is 20% of our workforce, which for an agency our size is very, very much to be proud of. So, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions from the audience?
I have a question.
Captain. There, thank you, sir.
BoS Ribery. Chief, with all due respect, I have a couple of questions to ask you, if you'd be kind enough to answer that. I filed a complaint against 2 of your officers about a year and some times ago in reference to incident in jurisdiction of West Goshen Township. To this date, I haven't heard anything. My interaction so far with your department has been nothing but, I would categorize it like this: bigot, racist, incompetent, and downright unprofessional. With respect to the complaint that I have filed with 2 of your shift sergeant immediately after the incident, what is the appropriate protocol for your department as far as the follow-up? And are there any other remedy other than file an internal affair complaint and request the Office of the District Attorney to investigate? Because, in my opinion, I don't think somebody can investigate their own fellow officers. I take my answer when I see it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ribery. I am very familiar with the 2 incidents you are referring to. It is my understanding that you filed a complaint against Sergeant Liss with regard to a complaint he took, reference to some flower pots at your ex-wife's residence in the village of Shannon. And you came in a week or so after the report was completed, making an accusation that it was full of errors and incorrect. I believe you spoke with Captain Stone at that time. You demanded that the report be changed. You told you it wasn't going to be. And that we felt that the officer did absolutely nothing wrong. The report was accurate. You weren't even present during the course of that report. And we closed that case. The other incident you're referring to is a complaint filed by another officer with regard to how he disrespected you. I believe you spoke to, I think, Captain Stone again. I'm not 100% sure. I believe so. Captain Stone interviewed the officer, watched the mobile video recording of the incident. Your complaint was of disrespect, and Captain Stone found that your complaint was invalid as well. I apologize if Captain Stone did not relate that to you, but I believe he did. I have a copy of that video. I have reviewed it myself. And I think your complaint was baseless. That's it. And if you're welcome to contact the district attorney anytime you like.
Mr. Ribery, you can save it for comments because we're going to move along. You got your chance. He answered your question. We can't go back and forth on.
No, I'm not going back and forth. I just wanted 1 minute.
Not now. It's late in the day.
Next month?
Before, and I think his response was, that's it. He's done his investigation. That's all he can do. There seems to be a disagreement on whether you think that was a valid investigation. Your recourse is to take it to the district attorney's office, which you have every right to do if you'd like.
He had no jurisdiction.
Who has no jurisdiction?
Police department had no jurisdiction in that subject matter.
Okay, well then that's something that I think you should take up with the district attorney's office. You know, you have the right to do that. So I would suggest that you do that, and rather than getting a tit for tat over this, it seems like this might be a legal matter. And I would advise that you maybe obtain an attorney and and exercise your rights. I just don't think this is a productive thing going back and forth like this. You have every right to be here every month. You have every right to say what you want to say every time. That doesn't mean we're going to change our mind. So there does come a time where I think you have to take the bull by the horns and go that next step. You're invited to do that. So I'm going to ask you to sit down. We're going to move on to the next item, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would address it at next meeting.
Thank you. The next report is the Fire Marshal's report, including Goshen Fire Company and Good Fellowship Ambulance Company, presented by Fire Marshal Andrea Tessman. Good evening, Andrea.
Good evening. For the month of August, there were a total of 28 inspections. 6 commercial use and occupancy, 5 fire blocking, 5 sprinkler, 5 framing, 2 walk-through, 2 fire alarm, 1 sprinkler break, 1 fire life safety, and 1 fire extinguisher placement. There were 6 fire calls, 4 automatic fire alarms, 1 electrical fire, and 1 smoke investigation. I attended 2 meetings, and there was 1 fire call follow-up. The Westchester Fire Department had 27 calls for the month, and Good Fellowship Ambulance had 135 calls for the month. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrea. And we have the building official's report presented by building official John Seswick. Good evening, John. How are you?
For the month of August, there was a total of 116 permits. 25 building, 22 electrical, 7 fire protection, 17 HVAC, 12 plumbing, 8 roofing, 10 zoning, 8 use of occupancies, 5 ENS, and 2 road occupancies. The estimated cost of construction was $13,496,463.45, and the permit fees were $119,221.81. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Now we move to number 10, or it might not be number 10. Board of Supervisors announcements. I will start to my left with Ms. Lasota.
And these are just announcements. There's no comments after that.
Very well. Duly noted.
Thank you. So Thursday, September 13th, which was last Thursday, the township held our annual employee summer picnic to show its appreciation to all the employees and staff for all the hard work that they do. I found it, very nice and enjoyable. Most of us, I believe all 5 supervisors attended it, and it's an opportunity for the employees to get together. Some departments don't see each other during the day at all. It's a time to sit and chat and, have over a good meal, hamburgers and hot dogs, and just get to know each other. And it's a time that we're able to show appreciation and that we value the employees for all the hard work, the staff and the employees for all the hard work that they do on a day-to-day basis. So I just wanted to let everyone know that we had a employee appreciation picnic last Thursday from noon to 5. So.
Very nice of it. Thanks. Ms. Duncan.
Yes, I'm sorry that Ms. Cavada just walked out because she was the party planner. She did a really nice job. Yes. My announcement is that we have been successful in identifying some very strong candidates to join our commissions. Dr. Doug White, who's still here, has been appointed to the Planning Commission, as is John Mattia, who is not here this evening. He's also been appointed to the Planning Commission. Mr. Bob Holland is going to be returning to the Pension Committee. Yeah, I don't know if it's commission or committee. And Mr. Bob Scheller is also expected to join the Pension Committee as well. And that's it.
Good. Thank you, Ms. Duncan.
And I just want to say thank you for all the residents who choose to stand up and volunteer their time. It's very much appreciated.
Do we need a motion to accept those individuals and appoint them?
I was under the impression that Ms. Donovan said they had already been appointed. If they have not formally been appointed to those boards and commissions, then motions to make those appointments are required.
Yes. I think they have not yet been formally. So you do need a motion?
Yes.
I would like to make that motion. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we have a motion from Ms. Lasota, a second from Mr. Burnell. I'm assuming there's no public comment, but I'll ask anyway. All those in favor for those appointments that we just mentioned, Mr. Dr. White to the Planning Commission, John Mattia also to the Planning Commission. We also have Bob Holland returning to the Pension Board. All in favor?
Bob Scheller.
Bob Scheller.
Yeah.
Bob Scheller, I know he left a little while ago. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very well. I'm going to skip over myself. I'm going to go to Mr. Meekum for any announcements that you might have, and I'll come back.
I was just going to say congratulations to Doug Moore. Welcome aboard.
Mr. Purnell?
Yes, to reinforce the comments earlier on the picnic for the employees, that I really had a chance to talk to some of the fellows that were leaving on and girls too, most of the fellows, and it was very well received by the employees. I think that's a worthwhile endeavor. The other thing is that Eunice Alexander's, I think, is going to be on the schedule in a little bit, has done some work on helping us find witness trees and the older trees. I'd like to thank her for her efforts.
Thank you very much. I'll be very brief. Folks, we've been getting an ever-increasing amount of phone scam calls targeting our elderly community. And some of them have rose to the level of really scary. Usually they're just financial type of phone scams. But actually we've been having some phone scams, and I'll read to you one of them from a resident who gave this to me. Just some phrasing going to the middle of it. This expires in the next 24 working hours, and once expired, you will be taken under custody by the local police. That's the UP.
Oh, boy.
As there are 4 serious allegations pressed against you, your name at this moment, we request you get back to us so we can discuss this case before taking any legal action against you. The number to reach is 203-521-9803. I repeat, 203-521-9803. And they were nice enough to say thank you at the end. The point is that this is happening quite often, and I did make some copies in the back for you. I've talked to the chief, he's well aware of it. There's a phone line that you can call, a registry from the Federal Trade Commission to help build a database so that they can try to go after these phone calls. It's very hard, it's very difficult. The technology behind them, they're encrypted. It's very difficult, but if everybody starts reporting in a timely manner, the chances of getting some more information and battling this is very important. So if you could please just spread the word to anyone that you know in the community who may be susceptible to this sort of thing. The IRS will never call you. The police will never leave a message like this. Well, they didn't even identify themselves as the police. These messages are bogus. So folks, if you could spread the word, that would be fantastic. Let the fire training go to you, but I did want to follow up with, once again, with the picnic. I came very late at the picnic this year. I enjoyed the picnic last year. It is a chance to give a thank you to our staff. Our staff does work hard. So it was very well done, and I was glad to see such great participation. I'm so sorry I came there late, but I did want to give a hats off to all of those folks who made it happen. Thank you very much. I will hand it over to the township manager for his announcements, Mr. Willow.
Very good. Good evening, everybody. We've been talking about a grant that the township received about 6 months ago from the Commonwealth for some job training. I got back Saturday with about 20 firefighters from departments along the pipeline. They attended the, it's called Disaster City in College Station, Texas, through Texas A&M. And they had 40 hours of training Monday through Friday last week. I'm going to be doing a full presentation with photos next month that showed what they went through during their training, which it was humid. It was like here. It was humid, warm, pretty disgusting to be outside in full suits doing their training. So I have some really good photos that I was not allowed to take. The participants had to take them. I wasn't on the scene. It's okay. But I'll do a full presentation next month. It was very worthwhile training. And the next part is management training in Oklahoma City, Department of Transportation. We'll be doing that in early November. My second announcement is in September, we annually do the foreign fire relief distribution. I'll read the memo. On September 17th, 2018, we received the 2018 foreign fire relief funds from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania in the amount of $179,416.37 and deposited these funds into the general fund. In accordance with Act 205, distribution of these funds are to be made to the fire relief associations of the fire companies servicing our municipality within 60 days of receipt of the funds. As in the years past, these funds will be allocated on the same percentage basis. Good Fellowship will receive 12.5%, Goshen Volunteer will receive 50%, and Westchester Volunteer will receive 37.5%. Accordingly, these funds will be distributed as follows. Good Fellowship, $22,427.05. Goshen Volunteer Fire, $89,708.18. And Westchester Volunteer Fire, $67,281.14. This is the 2% tax on out-of-state insurance, fire and casualty premiums, which is distributed to fire companies and ambulance companies in the Commonwealth. Okay. And one last thing, kind of last minute, Dave Woodward gave me the MS 999 form. It's our annual paving project is complete. We have to file this form with PennDOT. It just shows the expenses paid. We actually cut the check today to Glasgow, which was our contractor this year. So I'm asking authorization to have the chairman sign. I have to sign as well, if I can get a vote on that.
Very well. Do we have a motion to
I'll
authorize?
make that motion that
We have a second.
I'll second.
We have a second, Ms. Spencer. Any public comments?
The total amount, $744,164.32.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lalonde. Next item on the agenda is the Township Engineer's Stormwater Announcements. Mr. Craig.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I attended the county's annual Stormwater Summit last Friday, which was held at the County Training Center. During that summit, a representative of DEP provided an update on the status of TMDL, PRP reviews, and issuing of permits, which were supposed to have been issued in March of 2018. DEP can provide no time frame for completion of the PRP TMDL reviews, and they can provide no time frame for issuance of the permits. No one in the county has been issued a permit at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Craig. Next item on the agenda, zoning officer, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On Tuesday evening, the zoning hearing board held 2 cases here at the Township Building with regards to 834 Orchard Avenue, which was a de minimis variance request for a deck, and 704 Old West Town Road, which was also a de minimis variance request for, and they had to go back to the zoning hearing board because they had previous relief. Zoning hearing board granted both applications that evening. On October 4th, we will be hosting Pennsylvania One Call 811. Will be coming here to do a citizens training. I had attended a training class in August, and it was very interesting. Now they have a slogan, call before you clean. Because of the HDD drilling, when they're doing that, people think that when their sewer lines are clogged, the plumber runs the snake down there. Well, when they run a gas line, the snake pierces the gas line, fills the house, boom. So, talked to Casey, and we thought it would be good to have that training brought here. It's free of charge to anyone. You don't have to be a West Goshen resident to attend that. We will also be doing a training for the rental program on November 15th here at 7 p.m. So that's all I have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Webb. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the Board of Supervisors meeting minutes of August 21st, 2018. Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
I will make that motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second from Mr. Nico. Do I have any public comment about the meeting minutes? No? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Number 15, approval of treasurer's report dated August 31st, 2018 for the general fund, the sewer revenue fund, the waste and recycling fund, and the capital reserve fund, and the bills to be paid from these funds.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion from Ms. Stuntebeck. Do I have a second? A second from Mr. Purnell. Any comment from the audience? Having no comment, let's have a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 16, I believe, discussion of township consulting engineers, RFPs, and discuss retaining Carroll Engineering for the remainder of 2018. So, Mr. Lalonde, can I have your card with that?
Absolutely.
Sure.
As requested by the board, the township went out for RFP on engineering services to do our due diligence, and we conducted, staff made a short list of what we thought were the top 3 candidates in those RFPs. We conducted interviews with 2 members of the board to keep it clean for sunshine, and staff and recommended we retain Carroll Engineering. Their prices are commensurate with our other with the other competitors, and the services that they've offered have been excellent for years. So that's our recommendation.
Very well. So folks, as we promised in the beginning of the year, what we're going to do is go through a sort of competitive process for all those professional contracts that we have. We did that with the solicitorship, which has brought us Mr. Sanders. And we promised we'd do that with the engineering consultant. We have had very good experience with Carroll Engineering. Nonetheless, we decided to do this because it's just a good process to do for the benefit of the taxpayers doing due diligence after so many years. We're very happy with the recommendations that we've received and the information we've received. I would like to entertain a motion if we have to approve. Do we have to?
No motion necessary.
No motion necessary. So I would like to congratulate Carroll Engineering once again. Thank you very much. We look forward to working with you in the future. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions?
I'm just wondering if there's any conflict between Carroll Engineering and the Drockin Estate development, Woodlands at Greystone.
None that I know of or been made aware of.
I'm sorry, what do you mean by conflict?
I believe Carroll Engineering has done work for Mr. Reeser.
Is that?
We haven't done any work for any developers in West Goshen Township other than doing inspection on behalf of the township for the projects that are being developed.
Have you done work for them?
Margie, I'm sorry, you have to come up and get up here. I'm sorry.
And I could be mistaken, but I thought I've been on your website and you have worked with Reeser when he was with Pulte and Reeser Land Development in other counties.
Okay, then Mr. Reeser was an employee of Pulte. He was not an independent developer, so he has not done work for Pulte, or for Reeser.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Just following up on that note of RFP, we are in the process too of looking at our financial institutions. That was another initiative that we promised we would look into at the beginning of the year. Once again, going through a sort of competitive vetting process to get the best bang for our bucks. We have some significant holdings, and we want to make sure that we're on top of that for the residents' benefit. Now, I see numbers 17, 18, and 19 have been tabled to our next meeting on October 16th. So I'm going to move down to number 20, and it says possible adoption of resolution 17-2018, approving the minimum municipal obligation for the township's police, administration, roads, and sewer employees' pension plans. I would ask Mr. Lalonde.
Absolutely. Yeah, just another annual housekeeping item. On an annual basis, the Township Board of Supervisors adopts a resolution, and I'll read the first couple of whereases. Whereas Section 302 of the Municipal Pension Plan Funding Standard and Recovery Act of 1984, also known as Act 205, requires a Chief Administrative Officer of the Municipal Pension Plan to determine the financial requirements and minimum obligation of the municipality of the pension plan for the following planning years. This is essentially for 2019. I'll go through those numbers. We have 3 pension plans. For the Administrative and Roads Employee Pension Plan, the financial requirements $459,791, and the minimum municipal obligation is therefore $459,791. For the Sewer Employees Pension Plan, financial requirements of $229,049, and the minimum municipal obligation is that same number, $229,049. For the Police Pension Plan, the financial requirements are $460,469, with a minimum municipal obligation of $303,565.
Thank you very much. I imagine we would need a motion to approve.
I do have a question.
Okay.
What's the difference between the two numbers of the 460 and the 303 under the police pension plan?
Certainly, and I should have said that. The police contribute a portion of their salary to the plan, so the township's then obligation is lower because of that payment by the officers.
And then under the minimum municipal obligation Act of 205, the state also contributes. It's 1 unit for non-uniform, 2 units for police.
Correct.
And we are expecting that payment between September 26th and September 28th.
Yes, that is correct.
And that'll be what, $4,600?
That's
per
correct.
unit,
That was
correct?
just released today, correct. Yep.
Any other questions from the board? Do I have a motion to approve?
I will make that motion.
I have a motion to approve from Mr. Purnell. Do I have a second? From Mr. Meekum. Any public comment? Ms. Wood.
As part of the budget discussions for 2019, will it be considered to have the non-uniform employees start contributing to 3 or 5% like the police officers do towards their pension?
We discuss that every year, yes, absolutely.
So is it proper to approve this resolution now, or should you wait until after the budget discussions?
No, it's appropriate to approve it. The number isn't going to change. We still will owe $459, $229, and $303 no matter what. So if the board sees fit to charge me and Dave, Gene, Mike, a portion of our salary, it doesn't matter. It helps the township's bottom line. We won't have to pay any more than what's on it.
Okay. And then I'm curious, how did the drop program affect what's required for the police?
This is a transition year because it's the first year of the contract, so really not much. 2020 will show an impact, yes, definitely.
Shouldn't it have an impact in 2019?
Does not. Does not. I had a detailed conversation with Ms. Denham tonight. Because the evaluation was done in 2017. It's 2 years behind.
The calculation for the MMO is affected for 19 because of the officers who opted into drop, so that they're out of the MMO calculation for 19. But the valuation, as far as the actuarial calculations and those percentages, that will not go into effect until 20. It is a 2-step process with the drop.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Wood. We do have a motion. We do have a second. So all those in favor of approval? Aye. And now we come to the discussion and possible approval of Resolution 18-2018, establishing fees for the Township Rental Housing Inspection Program. I believe that would be either Mr. Sander or Mr. Webb or both.
Well, I'll start out. Using Mr. Webb's proposed fees for applications and for inspections of rental units under our new rental ordinance rental license ordinance that takes effect on January 1st, 2019. We drafted a resolution incorporating, excuse me, incorporating those fees into the fee schedule. They are listed. There are 6 new fees, 4 of which apply to applying for an annual rental license, depending on whether you're a single-family unit or whether you are a multi-family unit and how many units there are within that multifamily dwelling. And there are 2 fees for inspections, one for an initial inspection and one for actually what amounts to a 3rd inspection, because the first fee includes 1 follow-up inspection. So those 6 fees are before the board for approval of resolution number 18-2018 by motion.
I read the thing, obviously, as part of my package, and I approve. I therefore make the motion to approve.
I second that motion.
Motion and a second. Mr. Webb, is there anything you would like to add to that?
No.
Okay.
Nothing.
And just for clarification for the audience, I see in section 1, we've listed the different fees, the rental license application fee per rental unit. Who do you foresee paying this most? I mean, the actual
Generally, it's the owner of the property pays.
Right. Okay. Very well. Well, we have a motion and we have a second. Do we have any public comment? Ms. Ward, would you like to take?
I'm a little bit concerned about conflicts that might arise with zoning officer.
I'm sorry, what kind of conflict? What do you mean?
Well, I know he is a realtor.
I'll stop you now because
okay.
I know where you're going with this.
Okay.
Yes, I'm a realtor who has put an ordinance forward to protect the citizens of West Goshen when other realtors would say, why the heck would you create more work for our industry? Secondly, when I was at Valley Township, I was the only building inspector there. I have an obligation as an agent. If someone wants to see a property, I don't represent tenants, first of all. I don't do rentals. So that will never be an issue here. If we had a resale ordinance, there could be a possible issue. However, we also have additional staff that could cover that. And what I did when I was at Valley Township, because as a realtor, you're obligated to show your clients properties where they want to see them. Therefore, if I had someone who wanted to see a property in Valley, and they decided to purchase that property in Valley, guess who paid for that inspection in Valley Township? Because I was the inspector. I paid Callan Township to do the inspection, so there was no loss to Valley Township. So I'm an ethical person.
Well,
You won't have that problem with me.
I think it's inappropriate for you to question whether the employees are ethical or unethical without any proof or evidence.
I don't.
So I
was
thank
just
you for your concern, but I would ask that you move on.
But Margie, you were asking about potential conflict. Is that what you were asking about?
yes.
I understand where you might be thinking that originally, but we've heard this explanation. I don't foresee a potential conflict necessarily because someone is a realtor. We had board members that were realtors on here. So I think what we'll do is, we always try to watch out for any potential conflicts. Myself as an attorney, 2 attorneys on here, and he's a realtor. If something should arise, that you have a question about a specific incident that arises, that occurs, let's cross that bridge when we ever get there.
But how do we know that, though? I mean, if his
Well,
advertisement...
he's got a duty to reveal it if there's a conflict, and there is no conflict here, so there's nothing to reveal.
I mean, he's not selling the person the unit that he's going to add. Even if he was, it doesn't make sense if he was renting.
But what if it won't pass inspection because the weeds are too high? And he also has a landscape company.
Well, I don't have a...
Well, no, I'm not throwing accusations. I'm just worried about conflicts of interest. Is this...
That's an if and when problem. If we get there, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. if any law or ordinance we pass is always subject to the possibilities of some conflicts that arise in the future. And I understand your concern, but I don't see that here. So I appreciate your time on that, but I don't think we really have that here.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much. I think, okay, sir, Mr. Rivard, did you like to speak?
I'm sorry? I asked if you had standing to be able to comment.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, he can be recognized by the chair. If we were taking a strict view of the Sunshine Act, Mr. Abari perhaps would not be afforded public comment because that is afforded to residents and taxpayers only. However, the chair who is running the meeting has afforded Mr. Abari the opportunity to speak.
Mr. Abari.
In a more serious note, Mr. Chairman, this would benefit everybody in this township, including these board members. I served as a Vice President of American Society Home Inspector multiple terms, board member of PA Home Inspector Coalition. I'm certified mold inspector and assessor and certified indoor air quality specialist. I received my advanced training at Rutgers University, and I've conducted seminars for our groups. The main concern that I have is these inspectors, they hold themselves as qualified, because at the last meeting I raised that question in a previous meeting, 2 meetings ago. I believe your assistant township manager identified Mr. Webb, your engineer, and your township manager as a competent and qualified inspector. I'm paraphrasing it. With respect to that, if they cannot identify defect 10 feet away from them, meaning if you look at your right-hand side, right above that sign, there has been a significant water intrusion. I've noticed it in the last 4 or 5 meetings, and the mold growth has already taken place. If you noticed, last meeting when I came here, I had a little equipment, aerosol, which is a calibrated equipment and accepted in the Court of Common Pleas. I did not utilize any electrical device. It's a battery operated. I took a sample of it, sent it to my lab for analysis. That analysis is admitted in the court of law because it was conducted according to New York City protocol, which was my training. My question to you, Mr. Chairman, is this defect exists. You're not qualified to view that, but these engineer, zoning officer, assistant township manager, and the township manager, if they want to inspect people's property in your township and they cannot identify the defect within 10 feet away from them, that raises the serious question. My question to you is technical. Would you please have that tested by a qualified individual and remedy that water intrusion, because the mold has already taken place? I would be more than happy to give advice accordingly, but hire somebody, let them take an air sample and get rid of that, because if somebody in this room has compromised immune system, and if they've taken cytoxan, Taxol, or adiomycin, they're really susceptible. If they're in old age, excuse my language, senior age, and if they're smoking, that accelerates it. This is just for your benefit. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that insight, Mr. Rory. We'll see if we can follow up on that.
Can I just make a brief comment? We are aware of the damage. We have been aware of it, but due to the process of fixing it on the outside, it is delayed, but we are quite aware of the damage that has been done in our summer rains. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thanks very much, Mr. Davis. Looks like we have the motion and the second, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now, last but not least, is our public comment section.
Oh, no. Mag resources.
Mag resources, I got the old. Very sorry about that. We have to appoint appointment of the MAC resources to the official list of third-party electrical inspectors for West Goshen Township.
Yep. The township does not do electrical inspections for a whole host of reasons I'm not going to go into. The township has had a list of third-party inspectors for many years. We received once in a blue moon a request from another third-party inspector to be added to the list, so our homeowners and business owners can use their services. So I'm seeking approval of the MAC. It's been, well, they're all gone. been reviewed by our building department, and they know of their services, and they're fine with them. So it's a recommendation you approve.
Great.
Do we need a motion
Yes.
to approve?
I think this comes to make us a question.
I have a question. Should I address it to
Sure.
anyone in particular?
Sure.
Well, you said that you have a list of individuals or companies that you work with.
We don't work directly with them. They are
Right, they're
the
third
property
parties.
owners hire them, yes. Now, they
Okay.
put their sticker on the box, and our building inspectors see the sticker, we're good to go.
Okay, so what is the, can you explain to me just what the arrangement is, the relationship in terms of how we made this decision? It's well known, it's a well-known company, well respected.
Yeah, our building department reviewed it, reviewed
Okay.
their qualifications and everything, it was uniform.
So this is not a resource that we as a township will use, it's a resource that we provide as a referral or as a list of.
Yes, they look at the property owners, look at a list, and they pick whatever, who's on the approved list.
But let me follow that up. There's no contract between the township and any of these folks, nor are any township funds expended toward the service. Okay.
Totally.
Thank you.
We need a motion.
We do, thank you.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Needham, or was that Mr. Purnell? Mr. Purnell is the second. Any public comment on that? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. And now vote.
No.
I know we have units, right?
I must have, I know we've amended it, so.
Area tree tenders, if I remember correctly, Derek sent us an email saying this was added to the agenda. Yes.
Very well. Forgive me, I still have an older agenda, somewhat amended, but not totally. Venus, how are you this evening?
Good. I have something for you. This is the actual application. I only have one.
That's fine.
But we could
We'll put this
get
to
it.
work.
All right. So this will be really, really brief. And I'm Eunice Alexander, and I'm leader for the West Goshen Area Tree Tenders and a township resident. And I have crossed off so many words that I hope I can read this. So I'm going to try to make it faster, not slower. So the reason I'm standing up here tonight is to talk very briefly about this Tree Vitalize grant application for West Goshen Township Parks. Okay, the West Goshen Area Tree Tenders is a small group of East and West Goshen Township citizens that are dedicated to improving public and private tree survival. We're also interested in restoring some of the canopy that has been lost. So the Tree Tenders group is happy to support a township supervisor initiative to plant some trees in parks. And it would happen this November, if that works out. Tree Vitalize funding is provided by the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources through Pennsylvania Horticultural Society and also conservation districts, depending on what grant you're going for. Pennsylvania Horticultural put out the Tree Vitalize application August the 20th, and Mr. Davis, Ms. McClune, the park superintendent, and I were able to make the September the 14th deadline for submittal. All right. The application could certainly be withdrawn if you do not approve, but I would advise you that the PHS has to place its order as soon as possible so the nurseries can plan their delivery. Okay, so November the 15th would be our scheduled pickup date down at the Philadelphia Naval Yard, and then we would plant the afternoon of, that's a Thursday, okay, and we would plant the afternoon of Saturday the 17th, all right, so that we would minimize the holding time. All right. Municipalities in Chester County are not eligible for this Tree Vitalize subsidy, right, unless there's a tree tenders group. And so we're in good shape. And because we have it, it only costs $50 a tree. We would like to have 10 of them for this cycle. Let's see, briefly. This would be a priority and expenditure project, if I have that right. So that can be talked about. I am going to, well, last evening, Parks and Recreation Board gave their unanimous approval, support for this project. And I'm on that board also in the interest of full disclosure here, but I didn't twist any arms. I mean, you know, we like trees. They had some good questions. I'm going to plan to attend the November the 1st meeting of the Friends of the Parks, so that they're aware of it. I know President Hurley already knows this is a possibility. And the proposed locations will not conflict with any current uses or pending uses. And just very briefly, this is what they would be. 4 serviceberry trees for community park. They're smaller, right? 4 medium-sized trees. They'd be street keeper honey locusts that would go into Hamlet Crest's neighborhood park to kind of pretty up and make it more inviting. And in terms of big trees, 1 swamp white oak for the eastern section of Barker, which is low-lying and wet and near a children's playground. And lastly, a swamp white to replace a tree on the slope just above the pavilion in Coopersmith Park. However, I'm going to be taking a few soil samples very shortly to verify if that would be good. And I might ask Mr. Davis and Ms. McLuhan, et cetera, if I could switch that one to the Redmond basswood, depending on what I find. So that's that. And assuming the project goes well, Parks and Rec will probably support future applications. Mowing has been really hard in some of these soggy areas this year, so planting the trees will certainly help. A 1 mature tree could soak up as much, large tree, could soak up as much as 45,000 gallons of water. So that can be helpful. And my rain gauge shows we've had too much. We've had 6 months of rain in 2 months. Okay, so that's that. And the last thing I would say, because it had some impact on choices of species, was the fact that the spotted lanternfly is such a threat. You know, I wanted 4 autumn blaze maples. I just discounted it. Okay, we have some work to do, all of us. If any person that hasn't directly encountered the spotted lanternfly, you will. All right, so you could go to the website that's called extension.psu.edu/spotted-lanternfly. And you get a lot of good information, including this thing. This is a checklist for residents, because we are living in a quarantine area. In 2014, it was discovered in Berks, and it's already here. I've been told by Mike Dunn, the arborist, that it's already in hoops.
It's actually spread to Delaware and Virginia. They just haven't told us yet.
Thank you for that. I was at French Creek last weekend, and I was almost immobilized by what I saw there. So the good thing is it's a plant hopper. It's different. I'm not going to talk about that. I would just encourage you to go to Penn State and learn as much as you can. Try to protect Penn's woods. And we have some real rules about what we're allowed to do legally and moving things around now because we're in that area. Questions and possible decision.
So I just need some clarification on what are you asking of us this evening?
You're asking for funding?
If you could approve $500, okay, $50 a tree, 10 trees. If you could approve the expenditure of $500 to go to Pennsylvania Horticultural so that we could pick up these trees November the 15th.
Do we have to get them every year?
You do not.
We have, I shouldn't say we, but I know that there's still some money left in the historical commission budget.
Yeah, we have money in our parks maintenance, so we're fine. We can use it out there just to keep it parks trees.
Okay.
Do we need to confer with parks when we do this, or can we make?
I've been in touch with Doreen on a daily basis.
They've already seemed to approve this.
So we don't need a motion.
I would, absolutely.
No, I do have.
I'll I'll make a motion we approve the 10 trees as suggested by Ms. Allen.
At $500.
A total of 500.
Dennis, how do we get the trees?
Well, an employee of the facilities, parks, is going to be going down to the naval yard and getting them and bringing them back. And these, Mr. Meekum, these are actually bare root trees. And that is the reason partly why they're less expensive. And actually, this is the finest way to plant a tree. Because if you take the card that I gave you and you flip it over, you see how much root system a normal tree would have. And so this is a good way, but you have to know what you're doing, and we have to protect them. They'll be hydrogel. They'll be kept in the cool area of municipal building. So that's that. Is that it?
I'll second that motion.
Do we have any, we have a motion, we have a second, do we have any questions from the audience? Okay. No questions from the board remaining? No. All those in favor for the allocation of $500 for this project?
Aye.
Aye.
And thank you
Thank
for
you.
your
Thank you so
and
much.
for moving this forward.
Awesome.
Very exciting.
Okay, this is great. I really appreciate
See
it.
what, on the 17th you said? November 17th?
November 17th in the
All right.
afternoon. This is a true collaboration. This is not our project. This is all of our project.
Okay, thank you.
Now, if I'm not wrong, I think we finally have reached the public comment. Okay, great. So we have public comment time. See Dr. White. Dr. White.
Doug White, real fast. Board, thank you very much for having the meeting tonight. It's Tuesday evening, allowing our Jewish residents to celebrate their New Year. Happy New Year. Also, thank you, Chief Gleason, for being at Kesher, Israel on the holidays. You did a great job. Also, thank you for delivering about the sewer rates. Everybody's comment was a great comment, and it's a hard decision, and that's part of being supervisor. And this is not the first time that rates have gone up in this township on various things. So thank you very much for deliberating. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. Mr. Brochi.
My name is Robert Brotchett, I'm a resident of the township. In 1977, I moved into my current residence in West Goshen Township. For 30 years, I never once experienced any clumps of ice or snow being thrown onto my walkway by West Goshen Township snowplow trucks. However, on February 14, 2007, there was a sleet storm in the area. After the precipitation stopped, I promptly went out and cleared my walkway because a hard freeze was predicted for that night. I went out and ran some errands. I came back home to find that my entire walkway had been covered with sleet caused by the West Goshen Township snowplow trucks. Promptly, I called the township to complain about this incident and was put in contact with Ray Halverson. After registering my complaint, I was warned by Mr. Halverson, and I quote, "and it may happen again," in that tone. This has now been going on for 11 years since Halverson's warning, and I have repeatedly called and complained about the snow throwback onto my walkway. In 2012, I finally decided to make an official complaint with the West Goshen Township Police Department. In the incident report, I stated that this throwback of ice and snow was creating a hazard for anyone using this walkway, especially at night since Sylvan Road is poorly lit. I also stated that I believed that this was a public safety issue. The snow throwback continued, and in 2014, I requested to be put on the agenda for the February Board of Supervisors meeting. After reading a statement at that meeting, it was very clear that no one on the board, other than Ray Halverson, had a clue as to what the nature of my complaint was about. It was also clear that everyone on the board was scripted to be totally dismissive of my complaint. I appeared at 2 other Board of Supervisor meetings to continue to state my case that this was a public safety issue. With no positive results, I filed 2 other police incident reports, and this is the 4th Board of Supervisors meeting I have attended in 2018 to further state the case that the snow throwback is a public safety issue. Is there anyone here that does not believe that clumps of snow and ice being thrown back on a poorly lit walkway is not a public safety issue? If this is a public safety issue, then our township manager and public works director have ignored this hazard being created by the township snowplower drivers for years, failing to correct the situation that exposed people using this walkway to possible injury from a fall. During the past 11 years, I have repeatedly been told by supervisors and township officials that the drivers can't control the snow coming off the plow and that my property is different than other properties on Sylvan Road. How did the drivers manage to control the throw snow back from 1977 until February 14th, 2007, and how did my property change after that date? I have also been repeatedly told that the township policy is to clear roadways to curb to curb to assure drains are open to prevent possible flooding in case of a warm-up and or snow rainstorm. I have numerous photos and recordings that will show that this policy has repeatedly been violated for over many years. I have brought photos and some recordings that I feel will corroborate my claims. I'd like to show them to the chairman and vice chair lady after the meeting. One other question I have that was also asked at the June supervisors meeting is why is a combat wounded Vietnam veteran being treated like a second-class citizen by this township? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burchett. Just a brief response to you. I promised you in the last meeting, I talked to Woodward, I talked to Casey. The next significant snowfall that we receive, we're going to be riding one of their plows. So I promise to look into you and see what's going on, okay?
And I'm planning on joining him because I live very close to where you are. I live on West Town Road, and I have made multiple trips to your cul-de-sac where you are on that intersection.
I said I have photos and recordings that I'd like to show people that will prove my claim, corroborate my claims. Now, I don't want to wait till December or January or whatever. I have them. And I want to show them to people to show, and then the reason I want to show it is because if this is a public safety issue and it's been going on for years, how come it's been allowed to happen by the township manager and the public works director?
We'll take a look at it, okay? Now, do we have any other public comment?
Mr. Barry, Mr. Chairman, I will keep it short in lieu of the late hour. I'm a licensed contractor. I was engaged by a homeowner at Village of Shannon to install 3 no parking sign, which was in a fire lane, and it was continuously being a nuisance. In my capacity as a licensed contractor, I installed the 3 sign with the permission of the homeowners association, although I didn't need that, but on the recommendation of the township manager and Captain Gleason and everybody else was in that meeting. I contacted the homeowners association. I got a written permission that I'm allowed to install it. These 3 signs were installed on private property, Mrs. Barry's private property with her consent, and a neighbor across the street, which utilizes that area as a parking for his son, called the police. Police officer showed up, parked in a 45-degree angle, demanded the ID from me. I refused to provide the ID. I know my constitutional right, inside out, backward, sideways, and I refused to I did not obey the order because that order was unlawful. At that point, I told the officer I don't wish to talk to him. Fifth Amendment view of Constitution guarantees that right to me. And also, he doesn't have a right to ask for ID. And again, for a police department, I'm going to pursue this thing. For a police department, I recommend they review First, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment, 14th Amendment, Turner v. Driver, Terry v. Ohio, and I will follow this. I am not going away. And for non-resident, I'm a taxpayer of Commonwealth. There are case laws in the book. Educate yourselves first before you deny anybody the right to speak. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome, Mr. Barr. Any other comments? Ms. Warren.
Thank you. Procedurally, regarding the sewer rate discussion, discussion. Did I hear you say an ordinance still has to be passed? So we draw up an ordinance and then that's voted on again?
I can't quote you this section, but our fees are set in an ordinance.
Okay, so there would be time. You still have to have a public hearing on the ordinance?
No.
Okay. Will it be advertised in the paper? Okay, so it'll be advertised, and then the board gets to revote again, so on the ordinance. So if someone is going to appeal the sewer rates under Chapter 66-40, the 30 days is after the ordinance is passed, not after
I cannot
this.
give you legal advice on that. This is
I would suggest you seek legal counsel too.
Well, this is a township ordinance.
this work. I'm not going to give you a legal interpretation of the township ordinance.
So if it says you have 30 days after...
This work. Mr. Secretary is not going to provide legal guidance.
Margie, what's your question?
Well, there's an avenue to appeal sewer charges
Okay.
in the township code.
Okay.
And you have 30 days after legislative action setting sewer rates.
Okay.
So I'm asking that 30-day window doesn't start until the ordinance is passed. What was voted on tonight?
And my response is, neither I nor the board is in a position to provide that particular legal advice to Ms. Ward. If she wants the answer to that specific question about when that 30 days starts, she should seek her own counsel.
This was an ordinance written by the township.
And its
Okay.
interpretation is...
Wow. Okay.
And its interpretation is by the courts.
So no decision was made tonight. The ordinance
I'm
makes
not-
it official.
I'm not opining on whether a decision was made tonight or not.
All right, and then I did want to address the $4.5 million in the operating account. I'm reading from the official offering statement, and it does say that any on deposit of the operating account shall be used exclusively for the payment of operating expenses, proper capital and repair costs as set forth in the annual budget, debt service requirements under any subsidy agreement, and debt service requirements on sewer revenue bonds. So that $4.5 million that we have in reserve, the sewer operating reserve, can be used for debt service. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Well, folks, thank you so much. It's been a very long meeting, but your motion to adjourn. Have a second?
And a third.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.